Alrighty. Okay, we're continuing left off here. Sorry I had to basically stop at the last video because dinner was ready and I had no choice in the matter. So, yeah, so we have Zoro. Now, we get basically a lot of where after Zoro, like in the bar, like he gets a drink, and the bar reminds me of a scene from Star Wars where he's like drinking, and we see a character who we're gonna see in the very next episode. Basically, he's there to set up the very next episode. Who is this character, you might ask? Well, he's a member of basically Buggy's crew. As a matter of fact, we actually teases for a bunch of characters. Basically, like Arlong, Buggy, like there's a lot of teases for characters. As a matter of fact, Luffy gets basically when he mentions this is quite interesting. Where like there's like a ton of Easter eggs in this one. Like we get basically Via's one post obviously. Well, let's see. Okay, so people we see on Blind Post, we see Bellamy, Foxy, Django, and Cavendish. Yep. You're thinking Bellamy? Oh yeah, he's a character who will show up in, I believe it was the Stork that led Skypiea. Foxy, of course, in the Foxy arc. Django, he's actually a tease for, yeah, his character will show up a little bit later. Don't worry about that. And Cavendish. Yep. They also see posters for, like, apparently the Affirma took up the opening flashback. This is all taken from the opening, the first thing we see from the main series. Basically, this flashback is shown frequently the whole series, where we see somebody basically proclaiming about Roger's death. Go Roger, basically proclaiming how criminal he is. And this is what was interesting. It's Garp who does this. And you're thinking, wait, Garp? And here's the strange thing. When they jump, by the way, this is set 22 years for advance the series. And you're thinking, is that correct? Before the start of the series. Yes, that is correct. And Hawkeye Mihawk was definitely there, along with a few other characters who witnessed this. Okay, I do appreciate, though, they got that part right, because they were definitely there for this execution, so... And then we see Go Roger himself, which... Wow. Like, not only does the outfit they get basically right, they even kept in his mustache. I thought that was interesting. And mostly you see him where he's like smiling, he goes up. I think in the terms of the end, I think he climbed up a ladder or steps. Here is basically kind of like an elevator. And he goes up and he basically... Now, in the anime, he sits down cross-legged. In the show, he goes down on both knees. And then they do the execution, which is different from what they do in the anime, where it seems like they go to his chest. In the live-action series, they go through his back. And, of course, he says the line where it's talking about wealth, fame, power. You want my treasure? Go find it. Everything there. And, of course, the opening narration we see for the We Are song. Basically, that very same line. And then we see a bunch of pirates leaving the port. And, by the way, this is done in Rogue Town, which, yes, that was the very place that Roger was executing the series, which, good job for keeping that part right. Yeah, I also appreciated that. Now, here's something quite strange, though. When you first hear the music here, like, it's like they borrowed the music from Pirates of the Caribbean for this. Now, my guess is probably the reason why Netflix did this, because, well, they basically probably asked Disney for permission to use the music, or probably the composer, and use similar music for it, because that's what it reminded me of. So, and then we see Garp and Presney. I'll get to that. So, then we see Zoro. He basically beats a bunch of Marines. Luffy doesn't do any fighting here. Kobe disappears. He's not really seen for the episode. You see, in the original enemy episode, Kobe is actually there for a lot of the story. here he's there just, and he disappeared, doesn't pop again to the end of the episode where he punched the Himeppo, which I think he does in the series too. Himeppo, excuse me, the son of Captain Axehand Morgan. Which, of course, yes, the guy. Now they did make a small change with him in this episode. This I thought was kind of weird. Okay, so Zoro is brought to, well, the Marine headquarters, where we Axehand Morgan. Now we see his office. Now you're probably asking, Nick, did we see his office? Was his office in the anime? No, this scene was completely made up for the actual thing, and the guy is obsessed with himself, and the whole thing of the axe thing. There is a reference that we'll get to later. So, and by the way, Axehand Morgan, like, he's not as beefy as he was in the show. In the show, he's basically built like a football player. Here, he's definitely muscular. I at least previously got that part. I think they changed his outfit a little bit, but at least get the metal jaw in. Now in the show it's explained that Kuro did that to him. That's the reason why he has a metal jaw. In the show they haven't really explained it, but he does bring up later on in the episode the fact he defeated the Black Hat Pirates, which is something we'll see in the Surf Filler stuff. Oh, and here's something I find interesting. The barrel Luffy was in said Surf Village on it, which I love the fact that the series is basically planting Easter eggs for stuff we see later, which I love that, because I love these Easter eggs, because the One Piece anime is notorious for this. They love planting Easter eggs that we explore later. And then, of course, we see Luffy's first meeting. Well, we see Nami, where she knocks out Marine with her bow staff, not the same one she has later on from Alabasta. Yes, she had this bow staff in the main series, so they at least got that part right. So she knocks out a Marine. Now, in the original storyline, she mostly stay in the background. She didn't interact with Luffy at all. She didn't interact with Luffy until Orange Island. Here it's a change. This actually is the first major change they made to the actual show. They have Luffy, Nami in the Marine base. And I think anybody watching this thing probably just cannot help but stare at Emily Rudd's chest a lot of the time watch this. I'm sure any male viewer probably like, wow. Now, that's probably basically anybody looking at the thing. I'm not saying basically Amil who did it, but I'm sure every male viewer probably was doing that a lot of the time. So anyone who's strict anyways probably would be doing that. So yeah, I'm not going to say anything more about it, so moving on. So, we see where she wears the uniform, we meet Luffy, or she meets Luffy in the map room, which Luffy never went here in the anime. Nope, never did. Mostly put how he meets Zoro. He does see Zoro, and then he kind of, well, how Zoro meets him is the same as in the anime, though there's no scene of basically Laurel being brought a rice ball by the little girl. That was cut out of here. That was another change they made here. The little girl was seen briefly, and then of course he's strapped because he put in the yard because he basically beat up 4 Marines. And by the way, what happened to the guy in the bag? Don't know. It just disappears after this. It's like it's forgotten. And of course he's tied up. His swords are taken away from him. And then of course Luffy unties him. Of course finds her in the crew. Now, unlike in the main anime where he goes and finds the swords himself in, of course, Himeppo's room, here we have Zoro getting his swords himself, and we find Himeppo, where he's butt naked. I'm not sure the reason for this. He just is butt naked, and then he just teases with Zoro's sword, and he does basically swing the sword that the handle Zoro puts in his mouth, which when Luffy says, "Oh, that's where it goes," because basically. Now, you might be thinking, did Luffy say anything like this in the main series? Nope, because he had no idea Zoro even had 3 swords until when he found 3 swords. He says, oh, he knew he used katana. He did not know he used 3. Here they show that, yeah, he knew all along he used 3. And of course, you see where Axehand Morgan, he meets Axehand Morgan first time here, with Nami, which, of course, you probably would think is this where he met Axehand Morgan in the series? No, was not completely like a random. It's like just walk the hallway. Like, oh, that's why. Basically, looks down at the axe hand. Like, oh, that's why it's an axe hand. And of course, Nami is disguised as a marine, which you might be asking, did she use in the anime? Yes, she did. She most certainly did. Did she attempt to rob the place? Did she steal any money from the marine base in the anime? Yes, she did. In the show, no, she didn't. Mostly, she was there to steal a map. A map of the Grand Line, because basically they bring in the fact that he lived once the Grand Line. So they basically switch around Axe Morgan's office. Luffy pulls one of the axes from the wall, and his desk moves, and eventually she tries to unlock the safe. But Luffy's like, "Now we have no time," so he proceeds to pick up the safe and fall out the window, and then of course we begin the awesome brawl. Like, this is only the second brawl we have. Only second, like I would say the second. I would say no, it's the third fight sequence the whole episode, but at least they pace it out. Yeah, it's only been at this point about 10 minutes maybe. Actually, it's been a little while. So they have the Marines, and of course, well, Zoro wants to walk out, but he's to help out, no problem. And of course, basically the three team up there. And Axe Hand is beaten, and of course they run away. Himeppo tries to take him down with his Tixon. Kobe punches him. Now, this is another change for Kobe here. He punches Himeppo, and then he says it's goodbye to Luffy, and then of course he just enlists the Marines that very day, along with Himeppo, which in the anime they never explain why he did it. Just, oh, he's a Marine now. In the anime, he just probably enlisted. He probably was forced to enlist by Kobe. So, and then we see, this is interesting, we see Garp coming to the Marine base, which, here's something interesting to know about this. Garp did come here, but it was after Axe Morgan was arrested. Here, mostly put, he meets Axe Morgan, a character he does not interact with in the main series, but here he does. And of course, basically, he knows basically, he sees Himeppo. By the way, he's here wearing his dog hat. I also appreciate, though, the fact that his ship has got the dog hat on it. Now, here's some interesting to how they introduce in present day. He is answering a call from a transponder snail, which you would think that maybe Netflix would not bother to include this, but they did. They probably told specifically by it. Well, from what I've heard, anyways, the creators of the live-action series are big One Piece fans. They're probably going to include as much as they can from the main series, and at least got to praise the fact he did this. And he answers it and functions the same way. And then we see later on the next transponder we see, which is in Axe Morgan's office, and we see Garp feeding it lettuce, which is interesting. Now, the way they have him answer it here, where he picks up from the top, he just listens, he talks to it, that's how they do in the anime, which, great job for basically keeping that in, because that's how they answer it there. Good job. Yep. So, then of course, basically, he talks to Kobe, which this whole scene with Kobe, him talking to him, and him knowing Luffy, this is from the anime. Yes, it is. It's mostly from a cover story arc. This was after Axe Morgan was arrested for being a corrupt captain. He, of course, was strung up his own yard for being corrupt. And never seen again in the series, though in the case of the anime, he pops up like a couple more times after he was arrested, and then he's never seen again. Yeah, that's the same thing with Axe Morgan. He's never seen again after his cat. He's seen, like, the first time he's seen, he's sitting in a jail cell. Second time is when he escapes, and then he's never seen again in the series. Yeah, so pretty much basically Kobe explains everything to Garp. Garp basically accepts the fact he tells the truth. The fact that the whole thing, like, he thinks he might be an imposter, but Louis like, no, I actually wanted to do this my whole life. Garp basically realizes, though, that part he's telling the truth about. The fact he's always wanted to be a Marine. The fact he hid some parts, he wasn't very happy with it, but he does appreciate the fact that Kobe told the truth. So basically, he told, before he left, that when he's going to leave, he thinks the new squad Marine, new squad of cadets basically with him, and Axe Morgan is just strung up in his own yard and presumably never seen again. Then he goes off, and there's also a thing where he's going after the Baroque Works, which is interesting because he never went after the Baroque Works in the series. That's completely made up for the live action show, which I do appreciate that's actually quite different for Garp. I like the fact he's also active this period of time. Because here's the strange thing about Garp. Did you know he made his anime debut in the Axe Morgan, like his return arc, which was a cover story? That was his debut. That makes debut the main story in the aftermath, in these lobby aftermath. That's when he showed up. That's also Return of Kobe. So, also this is also Kobe's introduced to Garp. Well, he's referred to as the hero of the Marines. And I did hear some criticism related to Garp, his actor, where he's a bit more slimmer than he is in the main series, which I don't have a problem with that, but he's very muscular. Like, I don't think he's chubby in the main series. I've never thought that for him. He does look slimmer than he does in the show, but in the show he looks like he's very like a bodybuilder. Here he's a bit slimmer, but at least he's muscular. Though here's something strange though. He's supposed to be Luffy's grandfather, and yet Luffy looks nothing like him at all. Though in the anime he says he looks exactly like him. Yeah, I don't get it. So then Garp is not seen again after this one episode. Then of course basically we have Luffy, Nami, and Zoro going out in Nami's boat, which the main series this didn't happen because they had two boats, and this happened. The whole thing going together like this. This happened after Orange Island, not after the opening story. Which, okay, you want to make changes, fine, whatever. So then they're out at sea, and of course Nami opens the safe up, gets the map, but he's locked in the middle sheet. Though they basically have everybody go to sleep, and then they're captured. The Luffy sees in the distance a Jolly Roger. Of course, obviously, now here's the thing: at the end of the first episode, we do see this guy from the Bucky Pirates. What was his name here? Karabochi is his name. Karabochi. Yeah, he actually is here. And by the way, does he ride a motorcycle? Does he ride a unicycle like he does in the anime? Yes, he does. Is he referred to as Bucky Chief of Staff? Not really. No, he isn't. It's quite weird. I'm not sure why, but at least appreciate though. I'm looking at a picture of him from the anime perspective. Like, they kept the scarf, the coat, the hair, everything. And it is very interesting though, the fact that they kept all this in, because you would think Netflix would change this because of what happened with the Death Note movie, but nope. This is spot on. And I keep bringing up the whole thing of the changes because, of course, Netflix is known basically Netflix, and of course the live action adaptation of anime has received mostly a bad rap over the years for getting a lot of stuff wrong and changed up unnecessarily. And I pointed out, though, that's not always the case. There has been 2 live action adaptations I have seen where they've been really good and they're faithful to the source material. Mostly, anyways. One is Rurouni Kenshin. That is amazing. I love all 3 movies. Did an excellent job with that. The other is Tokugo. I've not seen a sequel yet, but I did see the first one. And that's another one where it's very faithful to the source material. And this one, same thing. Faithful to the source material. And then pretty much they are captured by Buggy and his crew. Now we do see one of Buggy's subordinates in the very next episode who actually doesn't speak. Yeah, he doesn't speak for some reason. I'm not sure why. And apparently there's women part of this crew, which that's interesting. Yeah, Moji briefly appears in the episode, and he doesn't do anything. Like, he shows up for a quick cameo. It's nice to see him. It's something though, his lion does not make appearance. This I thought was strange. There's no explanation of exactly why that the lion does not pop up here. Now, of course, they're kept in Buggy's tent. When they introduce Buggy, he's sitting in this really cool looking chair. He's in his own circus tent, which You might be thinking, is this how Bucky was introduced in the anime? No, he's actually sitting outside in a chair, which he's not he's not up a building, and he's also he destroyed part of Orangetown. In this show, he destroyed Orangetown. Also, the residents are basically his prisoners. Yep. So basically, we have it's where Luffy, when he sees, like, "Hey, I know you. You're the clown pirate." And Buggy's like, "Okay, that part is correct." He goes, "I'm Buggy the Clown, the jester fool," and I'm like, yeah, he does all this stuff here. This is what I thought was really strange for Buggy. Like, I appreciate the actor does a great job, like, keeping an accurate portrayal from the actual series. But is it just me, or is that this actor who plays it looks taller than his anime counterpart? I'm not kidding about that. He looks taller because I think in the anime, he's slightly taller than Luffy. Here, he's as tall as Garp. I have no idea why. I at least appreciate the whole nose thing and the white face paint. So, well, the basic up in the box, and Zoro and Nami are taken up off on the side. Nami doesn't really much do anything in this arc for this episode for a lot of it. And then we see where Zoro has got history with Kawabata, which he does fight in the actual series, but it's not like... But the fight is like dragged out because he's like all over here. And the fact he's wounded. Yes, the fact he's wounded from the previous arc. So he's got some bandages. Like, oh, I'm going to go to sleep. There's also a pet shop subplot. Yeah, they cut all this stuff out here. The fight is mostly held in Bucky's tent. And you might be asking, did they keep the Chop Chop fruit in the live action series? Yes, they do. And they use something uniquely different with Luffy here when he does interaction. He does like a prison in the cage. No, first he tries to drown him with first he tries to stretch him because he's a rubber man. He's like, nah, I'm not going to do that. And then he puts him in a tank full of seawater, and then Nami frees him, and of course they beat the crap out of... Well, Zoro beats up the guy in the unicycle pretty easily. And apparently, he's got history with Zoro, where Zoro killed his brother. This, I think, was made up for the show, so moving on from that. There's also a clean little knife throwing trick. Yeah, so then Buggy, of course, takes all the... And of course says, Zoro, the crates. And he basically hits all of Buggy's parts. And he's reduced to like 2 hands, a feet, and his head. Now, this is a nod to the anime, which I thought this was so funny. And Luffy does the Gum Gum Bazooka, which, yes, he does in the main series to launch off Buggy, but he was actually outside. Here he's inside of a tent. And he blasts off. And in the main series, they actually tied up all of his loose parts. Here they throw him in boxes. And Luffy, before he leaves, he proceeds to free him, but he's like, I thought you pirates. I'm a different kind of pirate. And, of course, where we have the whole Nami thing where she hates pirates, and, of course, they get the... By the way, Luffy actually swallowed the map, and then, of course, they get the map back. And then we have the episode end with basically... By the way, in this episode, we have Nami in her outfit that she wears from Orangetown, and I believe she wears this up until the Bastille arc. That's when she wears this outfit. Like the white shirt with the blue stripes on it, the thing on the side that she wears. So the episode ends with her taking out some equipment, put like a little strange bug in her ear, and making contact with somebody. Who is it? Don't know yet. But I at least gotta admit, 2 really good episodes to start with. Will I be watching more of this series? Yes, I have roughly 6 more left. But next thing we're talking about is going to be Mushoku Tensei. Yep. I don't know if I get time to watch the next episode. I probably will. And I'll probably watch maybe Eden Zero probably tomorrow. Yep. But yeah, that's particularly it. Particular view. Stay tuned for, Mushoku Tensei, a Comic Corner, and maybe One Piece, but who knows. Okay, next video. Bye.